Welcome to Better Together, the place where we stop blaming bad luck, dating apps, and the other gender, and start talking about what actually creates extraordinary relationships. Because who you choose, what you tolerate, and what you heal will shape almost every area of your life. Hi, I'm Eva Klein, relationship coach since 2010 and creator of the 2468 Love Formula. And this is Better Together. Every week we will decode attraction, attachment, nervous system dynamics, and the hidden secrets of successful dating and relationships. Enjoy today's episode. Hello and a very warm welcome to today's episode of Better Together. Ladies, you're not choosing a partner, you're choosing your health. So let me explain. We researched the university for 3 years. We compare the ratings, the campus, the exchange programs. We read every label in the grocery store, organic, grass-fed, cold-pressed. And we spent 2 weeks choosing a toaster. We read 47 reviews and we compare the browning settings. So we optimize everything. And then the single biggest decision for our health, our lifespan, our children's blueprint for love, the person we build a life with, we make on chemistry, on butterflies, on a feeling in the stomach that we've never once questioned. So welcome back to Better Together. I'm Eva Klein, and I love taking care of relationships and build the most amazing ones since 2010. Because I want you to understand something. When you choose a partner, you are not only choosing love, you're choosing your stress hormones, your sleep, your immune system, your nervous system, your longevity, and you're choosing the emotional climate your body will live in every single day for years. Love isn't only emotional, it's also biological. And today I'm going to show you exactly how deep that goes. So let's start with the hardest part because it's the part nobody says out loud. The wrong partner can cost a woman her life. I don't mean that metaphorically. When women are murdered, it is overwhelmingly by a partner or an ex-partner. For men, that is rare. Men are far more often killed by strangers, and home is statistically the most dangerous place a woman can be. So I'm not saying this to frighten you. I'm saying it because we talk about partner choice as if the worst possible outcome were a broken heart. It isn't. So I want you to be really conscious that, going on dates, entering a relationship isn't something you should do 3, 4, 5, 20 times a year. You should really take the time to get to know yourself, know what you want, and learn to take care of yourself, even though your father might not have taught you how to do that, or you didn't have a father figure in general who showed you that you're worthy and that your body is sacred. So now the part that happens to almost everyone quietly is his lifestyle becomes your health. So, when you say, I'm far from, dragging home a serial killer, the health always is influenced by the people you spend the most time with, and we spend the most time with our life partners. So that's why I say his lifestyle becomes your health. And it's not mystically, it's mechanically. You share a bed, a kitchen, a schedule, a stress level, and couples converge on how much they drink, how much they move, how late they stay up, how much they eat, what they eat, how much they smoke, whether they smoke or not. And his habits pull yours, and that's measurable. And intimacy carries real biology with it. So sexually transmitted infections are the obvious topic. Like HPV alone is responsible for the overwhelming majority of cervical cancers. His number of partners, his choices, his honesty about them, those are not just moral questions, they are your medical history. And then there's the invisible one. The chronic stress is not a mood, it's chemistry, cortisol, blood pressure, inflammation, disrupted sleep, a suppressed immune system. I don't know how many of my clients have autoimmune diseases and they're enforced by the relationship they are having because the root cause hasn't been solved yet. So, of course, it's not his responsibility. It started most likely because the root was built and led way before in your childhood, most likely, but you chose a partner due to that upbringing, and he's enforcing that. And, a relationship where you constantly bracing is a low dose drip your body drinks every single day. So, and the body keeps the score when you don't feel safe, when you don't feel seen and happy and heard. And it settles the bill years later. You say with an autoimmune disease, it's about 8 years. You have to go back and see what was happening around 8 years ago this time. And you will have most likely a very, very significant and psychological answer why you're dealing with an autoimmune disease right now. And here's where it becomes permanent, right? And it becomes even more permanent when you're having a child with a man, because part of that child stays in your body forever. This is called the fetal microchimerism. Yeah. During pregnancy, I'm going to explain it, that's way better. Cells from the baby, they cross the placenta into your bloodstream. That makes so much sense because you want to stay connected with your child as a mom. You want to feel energetically your baby, even when it's not physically with you, because here we are talking about survival, right? So kids don't leave when the pregnancy ends. And researchers have found those cells in women's blood, skin, liver, heart, and even in the brain decades later. Women in their 80s still carrying living cells from a child they gave birth to in their 20s. And half of that genetic material, logically, is his. Now sit with that for a second. You do not just share a child with a man. You carry a piece of him in your tissue for the rest of your life. What science is still working out is what those cells do. Some evidence suggests they help with tissue repair and healing, and some research links them to autoimmune conditions. The honest answer is we don't fully know yet, but the fact that they are there and that they stay, that's established. And that's important, I think, to know. And we don't talk about that. It's like, as if you could just swipe away a father. We haven't talked about the emotional part and responsibility towards men yet, right? But for me, this changes the weight of the question entirely. This isn't a decision you can undo with a divorce lawyer. Biologically, that man doesn't leave ever. And on that note, one practical thing I'll always mention, because most women aren't told, don't let anyone cut the cord the second the baby is out. Waiting even a minute or two, or even consider a lotus birth, which means that, you wait until the placenta is dried out and the cord is falling off more or less, right? It takes some patience and you ask your nurses for the details about it. But there's so much that's still going on, and it was the baby's nourishing center for 9 months, and it's just not something to just right away cut off, right? And that's even the World Health Organization recommendation and not a preference. So personally, I also believe something else is still happening in those minutes, something we don't have instruments for. You don't have to share that belief, but the medical reason alone is enough to ask for it. And sometimes even insist on it. Because, you earn more money in a hospital when everything goes quick and fast, and preferably, of course, you also have a C-section because it's way more profitable. You can make way more money out of that than with a natural birth. But that's just a side note and an important topic to me. And if you know me longer, you'll hear that, I had a private office for families and teenage consultants. And this is just a matter to my heart that we know more when we are raising kids, getting kids, having kids. And but let's get back to the topic. Let me add a question to the usual ones when it comes to selecting a partner. Because normally we ask, is this person attractive? Do we have chemistry? And, because it's like, oh, it's a gut decision and it's a heart decision. It's a matter of the heart. But I would add the question, can your nervous system relax around him? Because peace is attractive, safety is attractive, and consistency is attractive. But most women aren't used to that. They don't know what that feels like. They are programmed on the wrong things, and they mix up, I always say cosmopolitan dating advice with what's real compatibility. And the relationship should become your home, not your second full-time job. So by selecting chaos, you need to juggle another person's life and handle that under specific circumstances. And if that line just stung a little, if home isn't the word that comes to mind, there's a reason for that. Because it's usually a pattern, and it's exactly what we get into in the next episode. Now, the uncomfortable truth about marriage is the research is fairly consistent. Men benefit enormously from marriage. Their health, their habits, their longevity, all of it improves. And men who divorce the wrong woman know exactly how big the setback is, financially, emotionally, and in their business. The cost is brutal. So the choice had better be a good one for both of you, because women benefit from marriage too, but here's the difference. A woman in the wrong marriage doesn't start paying at the divorce. She's paying for years. That's the energy exchange that's happening in, I'd say, 90% of the marriage. Men are giving their money, so they put their life's energy and life's force into earning money. A divorce is costing them money, and women pay with the years they spend in that marriage that maybe wasn't the right one, as it seems, because women still carry more emotional labor, more invisible planning, more caregiving, more of the quiet maintenance that keeps a relationship alive, the kind nobody notices until it stops. And when the load isn't fair, the body sends the invoice. And here's the part that raises the stakes. And children don't learn relationships, they absorb them. They are constantly scanning, and they watch the father especially closely. How does he speak to mom? Does he interrupt her? Does he back her up in front of others? Does he protect her dignity? Does affection come naturally to him? A hug, a smile, opening the car door, listening like he actually wants to hear the answer. Every day, your children are building their definition of love, and they build it from what they see, never from what they tell them. Your daughter is learning what she will expect later on from a man, and your son is learning what he will become. So look at the man you're with and ask yourself whether that is a person you want to be the role model for your kids. And this is what I want for you. And this is what we will be making sure, which brings me to how relationships actually die. Because not in one dramatic moment, mostly it's very slowly through everyday contempt. And maybe you already know John Gottman, and his research names it plainly. They're the horsemen of the apocalypse. There's the eye rolling, the sarcasm, the constant criticism, the silent treatment used as punishment. All those things, when they start rising, that's the danger. That's the moment where we're like, okay, now please have an intervention, because otherwise you're running the whole show against the wall. And this is exactly why I built my 2-4-6-8 love formula, because before doing that, before going to couples therapy, let's make sure, first of all, you have a relationship that's a 2-4-6-8 relationship. So you have a strong foundation, all the 4 essential personal needs are met. And then when something gets out of balance, we make sure, okay, you chose right, something just got out of balance, we need to correct it. And we know exactly where to dive into right away, checking with the love formula. It's really, it sounds so mechanically, I know, but it's incredibly on point. And I love how speedy and successful we are with that thing, really. Because the happiest couples I've studied all share 4 essential ingredients. And here's what's fascinating. Most of them have never heard of any formula. Of course not. I haven't published the book yet. They just naturally live it. The rest of us have to learn it on purpose. And that's what the formula's for. And we will break that thing down a little bit further in episode number 4. But let me leave you with this. You're not only choosing who will hold your hand, you're choosing the atmosphere your children will grow up in, the biology your body will live in, the conversations you'll hear every day, the stress you'll carry or won't. You research the university, you research the toaster, so research this. Choose with your heart and with your head, because one day your children will call your decision their childhood. If you want to see the pattern you're bringing into that choice, let's talk. You will find the data to connect with me in the show notes of this episode. And I'd love to talk to you and see, where are you stuck? What's your question? Why aren't you where you want to be in your relationship or as a single? And I'm happy for you to finally be that better together version. So see you next Friday when we get into why you keep choosing the wrong person and how to finally stop that. Much love and enjoy dating smarter and loving deeper, because life is better together. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave us a 5-star review and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's connect on Instagram at Better Together Forever. And until next time, date smarter and love deeper, because life is better together.